Hi, I'm Sheilaa Hite, world-class astrologer, tarot master, modern-day alchemist, spellcaster, and all-around magical being. Happy New Year. We made it. We made it all the way through 2020 and we got to 2021. And boy, did we go through it. So now that we're in 2021, let's talk about what it looks like it's going to look like. It's going to look like change. It's going to look like movement. It's going to look like newness. It's going to look strange in some ways, fascinating in other ways. It the number 2021 adds up to the number 5. So we're in a 5 universal year. And what that means is 5 is about change, choice, communication. It's about perception and perspective and possibilities. And so that's what this year is going to bring us. Now, last year we had changes that we couldn't have interpreted, we couldn't have decided or known what it would be from what we were interpreting. We found out though the interesting way, a day at a time, a step at a time, a breath at a time. It was a year of intense and immense opportunity to look at who you really are, to look at who we are as a world, who we are as a country, and who we are as individuals. And it was amazing, sometimes disheartening, sometimes wonderful to see what everyone decided they were, or they were worth, or they were committed to. So we have made it out of a dark period. We're still waiting for the fullness of the dawn, but something new is happening. So 2021 is about changes. 2021 is also about progress, about moving forward. Last year really shook things up. Last year, the lid was ripped off of a lot of things, and we got to see what was squirming around down there. Now, this year, and maybe the following years, not maybe this year and the next few years, but especially this year, something is going to be manifesting from those changes. This does not mean because we made it out of 2020 alive, this does not mean that we can rest on our laurels because we can't. We have great work to do. We have begun a process that needed to be begun, and now we must complete that process if we're going to have any kind of world or civilization that we can relate to and that can relate to us as creative, sensitive human beings. And when I said being, I mean literally in the process of being. We're not just human doings, we are human beings. So, a lot's going to be happening this month, so much so that I'm only going to do the first, say, half or nearly half of the month, and I will be dividing my forecast probably into 3 parts. But the first part, let's start with today. Today is January 1st. It is indeed a time to just move forward. And so is today, the planet Venus, the planet of relationships, the planet of values, especially self value, the planet of harmony, of balance, and of beauty. Venus is together with the South Node. So there's the planet Venus right here, and there's the South Node, and they are together. Now, the South Node is not a planet, but it is an important point, and it is related to the moon. And the South Node represents all that we were, all that we have been, all that we've come through. It's shaped like a cup, and this cup holds everything we did, everything we didn't quite finish, everything we had intended to do, and some of it is really great and some of it not so much. But it holds everything, and we have to be conscious of what we're doing when we dig around in that. If we dig around in the South Node in an unconscious way, all kinds of stuff comes up and stuff happens. But if we're conscious about remembering, if we're conscious about relating, to ourselves, and not only in this body, in this lifetime, but our soul selves. If we're conscious about doing that, we're going to be able to pull up all kinds of positive energy and positive, useful, helpful information for right now. So today, as I said before, Venus is together with that. So as we try and harmonize our lives, as we try and balance ourselves and our relationships, as we try and find value in our experiences, certainly value in ourselves, what we have to do is we're going to have to include who we were with who we are as we move forward. And the parts that don't work, please remember self value and balance are important here. The parts that don't work, toss them out. The parts that do work, dust them off, put them in a lovely place, and relate to them. So this year, let's see, old relationships are likely to come back. And by that, I don't mean that they will necessarily, somebody will pop up and go, here I am at your doorstep or on a Zoom uh, meeting. But relationships will pop up. You'll think about people. Today, I got a phone call from somebody I hadn't heard from in ages. Today, later on, I saw somebody I hadn't seen in the longest time, and these people were important to me, but I hadn't even thought that maybe they would show up. But people are going to pop up. Memories are going to pop up. Remembrances of good times and bad times are going to pop up. Move through them. They don't necessarily mean because they popped up, we need to involve ourselves, but move through them, be glad about the good ones, be however you are about the ones that didn't work out, and let them go and move on. There's a need for a new way to balance yourself in your life. So, therefore, that's called negotiation because Venus rules negotiations too. You need to negotiate with your old self and negotiate with your current self as to how you're going to move forward productively, how you're going to give the most and get the most out of being and out of being here. So, January 5th, Mercury, the planet of communication, the planet of how we gather and process information, is going to be together conjunct Pluto. So already the year is starting out with a lot of energies coming together. When energies come together, they create more power. So Mercury conjunct Pluto. Let's see, as I look at my notes, it's going to be a very intuitive time. Why? Because Mercury seeks information and seeks to communicate it. Pluto is deep. Pluto is very intuitive. Pluto is transformational. Pluto is rebirth. So Mercury is going to have new thoughts. Mercury is going to take its desire to find new information, desire to find out new things, and it's going to meet with Pluto, and there's going to be an exchange. Pluto needs to clear up and clear out its old. And the best way to do that is to give it a voice. So the voice, and so normally secretive Pluto, as it moves into this new position of being conjunct with Mercury, is going to want to talk. It's going to want to express itself outwardly. So this is a time your intuition is going to be really on, just really on target. Listen to it. Um, there will be deep, insightful knowledge coming to you from deep within yourself and from other people and from other sources. Deep, insightful knowledge. And that gives you an opportunity to stretch and to become more of what you had been, to become really to walk into this new Aquarian age fully equipped. So you also have to be aware that Mercury, how we talk and communicate, and Pluto, sometimes Pluto is very sharp. So Mercury, the tongue, conjunct Pluto, sharp, you can wind up being very sharp tongued. Please watch that. You're going to say things, and some of the things need to be said. You're going to think things, and some of the things you need to think about what you're thinking about. But above all, be aware that you need to speak gently to people and you need to speak gently to yourself. Be aware that that's a responsibility that you have to accept. You can't just say it because it's there. You can say it, but you have to say it in a way that people can hear it. So that means that takes us back to the Venus, which, as we know, is very prominent. Venus is negotiations. Venus is also diplomacy. You have to speak in a way that gets your point across without taking the sharp part of Pluto, which rules scalpels, and cutting people and things to ribbons. The next aspect we're going to look at is January 7th. So on the 7th of January, the planet Mars leaves the sign of Aries and enters the sign of Taurus. Wow, it's been quite a journey. Mars is the planet of action, planet of how we take action, planet of how we get things done. It's also a combative planet, so it's the planet of war and arguments. It's the planet of metal and metal working, so it requires fire. So Mars is a fiery planet. Mars is also the ruling planet of the sign Aries. And Aries is where the planet Mars has been in for 6 months. Now, Mars is usually in a sign for 6 weeks, and then it moves on to a new sign. For whatever reason, this time, why not? It was 2020. Mars decided, nope, I'm going to stay in for 6 months. So it stayed in Aries for 6 months. And there was a lot of, because Mars and the aspects it made to other planets, there was a lot of pushing and shoving going on. There was a lot of boisterousness that we really didn't need. And sometimes there was a lot of great and positive and exploratory action that was taken. And that we really needed. And if you look at what was done to get vaccines created, regardless of what you think about the vaccines, if you look at that, that was so Mars and Aries, because Aries and Mars are about exploring and about discovering. And here was Mars exploring and discovering new ways of handling an issue that needed to be handled. And they did it in record time. So when Mars enters Taurus, which is a sign after Aries, it's going to be calmer in a way because Aries is let's go, it's fire, it's moving. And Taurus likes to take its time. That is a good thing that we've got that kind of calmness. However, Mars is also going to be making a square, an abrasive aspect, a frictional aspect to the planet Uranus. Sorry, not making a square, it's going to be making a conjunction. I misspoke. A conjunction. So it's not going to be doing that, it's going to be doing that. So Mars will go into Taurus and it's going to conjunct Uranus in Taurus. This is, please be careful. This is a time when you can have loads of intensity because Uranus is anything can happen, and I mean anything. And Mars is like a battering ram sometimes. And sometimes there is Uranus, here Uranus and Mars. So there's Uranus, and sometimes Mars is just going, come on, are you paying attention? Are you listening? And Uranus is ready to explode anyway. So things can happen. Not always bad things, but intense things, definitely intense things. So what you can do with that is you can control how you act. You may not be able to control how the universe acts, but you can control how you act. Mars, how you act. Uranus, how the universe is going to act. If you control how you act, then whatever happens with the universe is not necessarily going to be disastrous. And you need to be in mind of that. Also, with all of that going on with Mars and Uranus together, you need to be aware that this is also a very intuitive time. Why do I say that? Uranus rules divine insight. So lightning flashes of brilliance are going to hit you. Wow, wow, that's fantastic. Taurus rules all banks, including the memory banks of humanity. So Uranus, divine insight, in the sign of the sign Taurus, the sign of memory banks, especially the memory banks of humanity, activated by Mars. What information is coming up for you? How are you going to choose to use that information? What do you know that you've been saying, oh, I don't know? And what are you going to do, Mars? What are you going to do with the information you get? Remember, take it slow, be thorough, be more Venusian. Why? Because Mars is in the sign of Taurus and Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. And didn't we start out the year today with Venus tapping into an intuitive wellspring? The wellspring being called the South Node. They're conjunct, remember. So it's going to be a Venusian time the first few days of the month, and probably Venus is going to show up in several other ways. We'll see. So now we're moving to January 9th. Now, on January 9th, other planets are moving. And one of them is Mercury. Mercury, the mind, the intellect, how we communicate, how we gather and process information, is going to be leaving the sign of Capricorn and entering the sign of Aquarius. Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, astrologers have names for what's going on. And one of the names we have for Mercury, communication going into the sign of divine insight and genius, is we say when that happens that Mercury is exalted. It's operating at its highest level. It's exalted in Aquarius. This is a great time for insights. It's a great time for inventions. It's a great time for computers. It's a great time for new things. If you get a great new idea, write it down, do research, talk to people about it. Because Aquarius also rules large groups, or maybe only three or four, but impactful groups of like-minded people. And those sometimes are called conferences or conventions. So sometimes those are called clubs. There are groups of people, humanitarian groups, who get together and will get together to take advantage of, wow, divine insight and genius working together. Mercury and Aquarius. The other planet entering a new sign is Venus. Venus, we've heard from her before, the planet of self-value, the planet of balance, the planet of harmony and negotiations. Venus is going to be entering the sign of Capricorn on the 9th. So what does that mean? Well, Venus it likes its balance, and it likes to be sure of itself, balance. It likes harmony, moving into the sign of good old stable Capricorn. Not the most exciting sign, but definitely the sign for Venus of a great profit financially, emotionally, spiritually, because Capricorn says, I'm about what is taking the value of what you have and understanding what that value can really bring to us on in the material world. So Venus in Capricorn is great. If you're thinking of investing, of course, do your research, but this might be a good time to invest in something really phenomenal. And with Venus in Capricorn and Mercury in Aquarius, maybe you could invest in information systems. Maybe you could invest in, maybe NASA is taking investments, if not in money, perhaps in time. Maybe this is a time to start looking at the startup company you were thinking about working for. Or maybe it's a time to say, I've always wanted to work in the digital world. This might be the time to go and find that great position. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at January 10th to January 12th. Mercury, remember, in the intellect, how we communicate, is going to be together with Saturn and Jupiter. Now, Mercury and Saturn and Jupiter together, and you just had Mercury enter Aquarius. Wow. So there's a lot going on here. We will be able to think in ways where we can take the airiness of the thought, the ethereal feeling that goes along with a lot of our thoughts, and we're going to be able to work that in some pretty phenomenal ways to create material reality. We will be able to do that if we say, I'm putting my mind to it, because that conjunction, that Mercury coming together with Saturn. Saturn is the planet of what is, the planet of manifestation. And you put your mind and your energies together, your efforts together, you can create something and you'll have something to show for what you were thinking, for how you were creating. Mercury is also going to be conjunct Jupiter. This is a good thing. Jupiter is expansive. Mercury likes to be expansive too. So Jupiter is you being in direct communication to the divine. That Jupiter is you just seeing if it will fly, whatever it is, because a lot of times it will fly. And in the face of, especially in the face of people who say, oh, that never happens, that can't be done, that's never been done. Right about now, Mercury, together with Saturn and Jupiter, it can be done. It can happen. It can fly. Are you going to have the courage to put it out there to the world that you're ready with something new? Remember, the world is not always as open as it claims it is to new things. But if you get an idea for something, have the courage to back that idea, because that idea may pay off. So let's see. The next thing, we're going to wind up this part of the forecast with January 13th is the new moon in Capricorn. And the new moon is phenomenal. The new moon is, the seeds have been planted, something is growing, something great is happening, and it's actually our first new moon of the year. So in a way, we had the new moon, we had January 1st, the first of the year today. We have another New Year day. That's going to be the day of the new moon in Capricorn, January 13th. And we have at least 5 other New Year's days through the year. The next one after this is going to be Chinese New Year, which will be the first new moon in February. So for us today, where we are as a world, January 13th is another New Year day. So this is a day you need moon water. I really hope you made moon water for the full moon on the 29th. And so on the 13th, you need moon water. So 2 days before, since this is a powerful new moon, set your container in the window or outside if you prefer. Make sure that you cover it, whether it's inside or out, because critters know how to get in otherwise. But make the moon water, let the moon's rays come down. Let the moon's rays really invigorate this water. And then sip the water. I like to let it set for a day or two in that window or outside, a day or two past the new moon. And then I like to sip it. You can do that. You can use it for cooking. You can pour it in bath water. You can expand it by using it in a homeopathic way, by diluting it with more water. And you would have lots of water. So the moon water is a phenomenal, phenomenal thing. It inspires you, it invigorates you, and I feel it strengthens you. It's really fantastic. And it'll have the energy of a brand new year in it. And so how could that be a bad thing? So on this day, we've got, and we need to remember, we've got the new moon, new things, together with the planet Pluto. Now, I spoke about Pluto earlier with its involvement with Mercury. The planet Pluto, this is pretty deep. This is about rebirth. This year is about rebirth. This year is about sorting and sifting, but not sitting to sort and sift. It's about being an organic part of life. It's about recognizing your organic part in life, and it's about doing your organic part in life. So, this new moon, together with Pluto, is going to really energize that. It's going to bring us to a place of rebirth. And that's really what it is. So think about who you want to be Think about when you were 5, when you were 10, when you were 15, when you were 20, who you wanted to be. This is a time when some aspect of that, you can get that started. You can get that going. Who did you want to be? How did you want your life to be? Are you living that life now? If you are, great. It's only going to get better. If you aren't living that life now, not as great, but it's up to you. It's about rebirth. Who are you willing to be in order to be the person you were meant to be? And by that I mean, are you willing to be someone who trusts? Are you willing to be someone who has faith in themselves? Are you willing to be someone who will try it anyway? No matter what happened in the past, no matter how often it didn't work before, no matter what other people say. If you will try it anyway, if you will do it anyway, things can happen. A lot of power. That new moon, that's the sun and the moon together in the same sign, it's power. Together with the most powerful planet, Pluto, that's power. That's new birth, new, it's just renewed life. And it's the whole idea of being alive, being vibrant, being powerful. And so I'm going to leave you with that up to the 13th. That's plenty. And by all means, enjoy being. We've made it this far. We've got more to go and we've got hard work to do, but we can do it and we are doing it. So lots of joy to you, lots and lots and lots of joy. And again, Happy New Year.